Welcome back to the Monster Energy Pro Downhill Series podcast. I'm Lars, and I'm here with race director Harper. Really excited to gear up for round 2 at Mountain Creek, New Jersey, but I think take some time to talk a little bit about round 1 at Ride Rock Creek, North Carolina.
Rock Creek, it was a big one. Yeah, it's good to be back. I think that, so much to talk about, right? We didn't do a post-race podcast. The crew was full bore. We had so much going on just to get that race put together and get out of there, cleaned up and start working on Mountain Creek. So, yeah, we'll just do like a little split podcast here and talk about some Rock Creek things, right? So, personally, for me, and my whole crew, you included, we were, man, that was like a race to the finish for us just to get that off the ground. But it came together beautiful. Rock Creek is just a hell of a venue. That track that Nico and Hayden and the whole crew put together for us was great. A real showstopper, right? Like we had some good racing to watch.
It was fantastic. I think, we had a little bit of mild weather issues just with some wind. It was a little cold, but the course was amazing.
It was good.
The racing was incredible. We'll talk a little bit about that today.
Yeah, we can jump into that. So the track, though, and the weather, as race director, I got put in a funny position, right? So, like, I'm sure some people watching and listening to this are going to, when we talk about the track, they're going to say, well, I didn't get to hit that last jump. So we had to make a tough call with that weather that came in with the high-speed winds. It was just myself and the officials, after a few close calls on that big jump, we had to call it for the AMs, for the Cat 2-3s. Tough decision, but that's racing, So I think that the go around that Rock Creek made provided like a really consistent track for that whole level of riders. Like, you may not have been, stoked to have the jump closed, but like everybody had a good race, I think. So it was good. And then, the upper part of that track came together just beautifully. Like the changes we made, I say we, I walked the track and talked about them with Nico, but the changes that Nico and all the other people made working on that track really made, I think, really made for a great event and for a good show. Like, for instance, the change from the steps up there, like mixing it up. We didn't have those brutal rock steps. Now we had a new steep off-camber section. It gave a lot of amateur racers a lot to think about on the track, but then it gave fans a really cool section to watch pros come in and just slide sideways down that hill and stuff. So
yeah, and I think the trail crew definitely hit the mark in achieving one of the goals that you were striving for, and that was to provide for tight racing.
Yeah,
something that really kept you on your toes. It made for a really exciting time down at the finish corral because the racing was just, it still blows my mind how so much can go on from start to finish and the times end up so tight.
It was amazing, right? So, I mean, that's a good segue to jump into talking about some racing, right? So in the pro class, the men's pro class, I can't remember the exact amount, but I think it was 4, 5, 6 racers in the top 10, all in the 153/154 mark right there, all within hundredths of each other. I mean, a lot of those guys had to look back, Nico down to Austin Dooley, that whole group in there, and just be like, was it one pedal stroke? Was it like a tuck in the wind? Like, what was it? Could have put him in the money.
Yeah, absolutely. And really tight racing, not just in the pro categories, but amateurs as well, and juniors as well.
Yeah. What was the before we go down to the individuals, you dropped a stat earlier before we started the show that blew my mind because I overlooked this, but tell everybody this one. Let's hear this one.
So you talked a little bit about keeping the racing tight. And one of the things that was exciting to me is your vision with this entire series. You're really, really working hard to create a platform that gives youth, like the up-and-coming riders, the youth.
It's more than 50% of the field now.
The biggest class was junior, and 55 riders in
55 riders in the 17, roughly. 18. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah. So looking over the results, my mind was kind of blown because in the 15 to 16-year-old men's, you had 9 riders sub 2 minutes. In 17, 18 junior men, you had nine more riders sub 2 minutes. Crazy. You're literally talking 18 kids under the
15 to 18.
Yeah, 15 to 18 kids that all would have posted times in the top 20 of the pro class.
Imagine what that would do to the results, right? Like how many guys are there, pro with sponsors and everything that'd be like, oh,
How incredible is that? You're
it's
all of a
amazing.
sudden you're a top 20 pro at a Monster Energy Pro Downhill Series race, and you go from that to a top 40 pro. Just from kids graduating into the class.
And well, I think that what's going to be pretty interesting to watch is going to be what kids decide to make the leap sooner than they would have. Now that as we discussed in the last podcast, like the rules didn't change, but we've kind of really clarified the rules that within the United States, and it doesn't impact where they sit if they go to World Cup, that class is dictated by a separate sanctioning body. But within the U.S., these kids in the 15, 16, and 17, 18 can elect to go to the pro class now. Things might be, there might be some shift in dynamics. It's going to be crazy, and that was led by Asa Vermette moving up, who unfortunately didn't get to race. He was hurt. And then also Aletha Osgaard, who won the women's pro race, right? Like, let's talk about that. Like, her first pro race.
Yep.
She wins it.
It's incredible.
Yeah, really wild. It was really cool for me to watch her in that press conference, which was something that we've wanted to do for a long time, just as a group of people organizing races, and it's been on the list, and we didn't want to let the opportunity of the first event pass without that. So we throw together this press conference, we pull these riders, and we say, hey, this is what we're doing. And they're like, we've never been in a press conference, and she's 15.
I was really impressed with her presence off the track as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we have been around the sport for decades, and you know what kind of strength it takes, the mental fortitude it takes, not to just make it down the hill, but to make it down faster than everyone else. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
You have to
make it through the whole week,
basically
too.
believe you're invincible. You can bend trees, you can move rocks with your mind,
Yeah.
And she's already doing that at a young age, but you don't always see the level of professionalism off the track, and she really carried herself really well.
Totally.
Talking about, keeping her, holding her riding accountable and all that stuff. I was just it was impressive to see just the level of professionalism off the track.
Totally. And it was really cool too, because that gives, she set a good precedent, right? That's what I was kind of getting at. It's our first ever true press conference, and we follow a real kind of rigid press conference format. It looks like Supercross or something. It's not a round table discussion. It's you're on the spot. Yep. And she was cool with it, comfortable, and even discussed her flaws and what she was going to do and all this stuff. And I was like, we're onto something here. This is amazing. So I'm enjoying watching her. I'm stoked to see what happens when Asa's back now. There's, I think, just going to be a bunch more of those kids making that leap. And I think that it's good. It's within our vision of what we set this, the path we set out on with this whole series. And the shit, these kids are going to, these kids are going to hold the pros accountable, right? I think there's people listening right now who are going to roll their eyes and be like, whatever. But they're going to hold the top pros accountable.
We already saw it, U.S. Open last year with Asa,
Yeah,
We've
totally.
already seen how fast today's youth and what they're delivering, just edging out Greg Menard right to the line,
I mean,
unquestionably the GOAT,
Yeah, at U.S. Open last year. But how about I drawing a blank on the kid's name at the moment, sorry, but the winner in the 13-14 Cat 1 would have been, I want to say, top 15 in pro. Yeah. That's pretty crazy, yeah, it's going to change. So I think that, to go back to just some of the actual racing, right, to kind of dissect that a little more, the men's pro race was really a good classic race. You have Dakota, arguably the fastest pro in our country right now, both on paper and in reality, right? And then has a not great qualifying run. He's on this new Mondraker bike. He says he doesn't feel great. Comes down, puts himself in the hot seat, and just sweats it out, takes the win, in a pretty reverse drama fashion. And it was a special day for him too. He had lost his grandma, and it meant a lot to him, that win too. it wasn't in the race coverage, but if you were on site, you know, you heard his post-race
really felt the
interview.
emotion.
Yeah, that was impressive. It was a classic race, great race. Then on the women's side, though, you have a 15-year-old winning it, which is cool. But Kaylee, like, I mean, you know, like that was hard to watch, that crash, you know, and people who are listening to this, if you watch the Pro Downhill Series YouTube, watch the race coverage from Rock Creek, and you can see what we're talking about. Kaylee had a massive crash.
She threw down a heater.
She was up by 3 seconds, or I can't remember.
I think it might have even been a little more than that.
She was up.
Really just putting down a dominant performance. And then, you know, I thought about that a lot, actually, because we saw the same thing with Tilly in the junior women's, literally almost the identical scenario. And it was a short course. So you think, like, all right, 2 minutes, you know, how deep do you have to dig and still be able to be at full power at the finish? But I think that's, you know, that's one of those things where you're going all in because it is so short, it is so intense.
I think that a lot of racers weren't used to a finish line jump like that. You know, we haven't seen a lot of that. You know, it's a great jump. It works. It's a great show and everything, but definitely I think when you're in a full race run, you're completely gassed, you're going all out, and then, you know, you get the hucklebuck or whatever you want to call it on that last jump, right? And that's what happened to Kaylee. Like, she just, I mean, potentially, here's another thought I had. She hasn't hit the jump that fast yet. That's another thing. She was going so fast that, you know, just misnegotiated, had a big crash right at the finish line. That was a heartbreaker. She's okay, I believe. I don't think she had any injuries out of it. And
keeping track with her on social, looks like she's out there slaying it once again. I did reach out to her shortly after the race just to check up. She said she was, you know, banged up, but pulling through and getting it together pretty quickly. You know, there's no question about the toughness of every athlete in this sport.
Yeah, and like you say, Tilly had a crash on that jump as well. And, you know, I was standing there. If you watch our race coverage, like, Kaylee's crash took her out. Like, it was big. She stopped the presses, walked off the track. Tilly got up, like, she was not taking no for an answer. I mean, she came across that finish line, and there was, like, she let out a scream, like a real audible scream. And I was standing right there in the finish corral, and I watched it on the YouTube channel and on the YouTube show. And I think it's funny. Some people might think she was in pain. I'm pretty sure it was just frustration, because she was still, like, on her way to putting down a great run. And so just, like, a ton of emotion and a lot of drama at the finish line. And like I say, comparing it to the men's race, the men's race was classic. Everybody came across the line. There was no real shocks. I think it would have been a shocking race if somebody had upset Dakota and taken him out of the hot seat. But it was like a little bit more predictable. That women's race was not predictable. That was crazy. That was good.
Kept everyone on the edge of their seats for sure.
Yeah, and then, you know, speaking of Tilly and looking over into the junior side of things, you know, we released this juniors coverage, which is, you know, the first time we've ever done this. So it is missing some shots and stuff like that. Like, we weren't quite prepared to capture the whole junior race, but the race was so good that we decided to create this coverage afterwards. So, you know, people should check that out. It's good. But Tegan Heap, another great racer who I was expecting to see, you know, on the podium, and she had a crash. We didn't catch it on camera, but more drama just in that whole field, you know, and there was a lot going on there. It was good. It's good to see the competition there, though, because recently, you know, you don't have to go back too many years, and there wasn't a lot of competition in that field. So it's growing, and again, it's just spilling right over into the pro class, especially with these girls turning early.
Incredible. Even junior men's with Lucas Tedora, I mean, he threw down one incredible run.
He would have been, I think, we said 8th or 9th in pro, man. Yeah, I mean, 155 or something with him. He's 154. It was incredible. And he's, you know, he's just been on a tear lately. The kid has had some dominating runs in the downhill Southeast races. So I guess it's not terribly surprising, but still, when you're standing there and you see a junior come down with that kind of time.
You know what is surprising to me? You know, I raced with his father 25 years ago, and what is surprising?
Yeah.
Well, no, what's surprising to me is he lives on Long Island, New York. There is not a mountain anywhere, and you have to navigate, like, you have to run the gauntlet to get off the island.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a couple hours just to get off the island.
It is a
And
brutal place
it's a
to live
pretty
as a mountain
interesting
biker.
place for a downhill mountain biker, especially one of that caliber.
But it's not the first, right? We had Derek Knobman years ago
Absolutely,
came
yeah.
out of Long Island. George Ryan out of Long
Absolutely,
Island.
yep.
A handful of other kids along the years who maybe didn't make it pro, but I remember some other fast kids. There's like a culture out there of no problem driving 3 hours to ride at Mountain
Yeah,
Creek
yeah.
through the traffic.
There's good trails there. It's just flat.
Yeah, super flat. Just some other like quick things we should hit on Rock Creek before we jump out to Mountain Creek. But how about we had 2 Supercross racers? That
So
was
cool.
Yeah, that was a pretty big highlight for me. So Cade Clayson and Josh Hill both came out. Incredible racers too, like mountain bike racers. Cade is top 20. And Josh, this was his first ever mountain bike race.
Yeah, and
You
on
never know
fire.
watching.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're obviously incredible athletes, and there's a lot of parallel between moto and downhill mountain biking, an incredible amount of parallel.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of pro moto guys that can't ride a mountain bike all that well, right?
Can't throttle out.
No, and particularly like the jumps seem to be one of the bigger issues,
Yeah.
I think. But both those guys really, really were impressive to watch ride.
Yeah, and I don't know Cade as well as I know Josh, but apparently he rides a lot, and I don't think this was his first race. So he seemed pretty comfortable, but Josh was just like a sponge soaking it up, right? Like I saw him taking runs with pros whenever he could, right on their wheel. Like you hear him in the truck asking questions. Like the guy, he knows the right questions to ask, right? If you're a professional athlete on 2 wheels in one sport, you're probably not far off, right, from being another. So, and then, once in a, like, there's not a lot of venues that would let me get away with this, but we got Josh Hill riding his Stark electric dirt bike on the downhill track. That was awesome. That was kind of like a closed thing, right? Like we did it after hours, so people didn't get to see it, but it's again on our YouTube channel. That's another like amazing show. Like the Gravity Co-op did like an amazing job on covering that, and it was a real eye opener because when he compares his downhill time on his down the track time on his mountain bike versus his Stark, dirt bike, which is equivalent to a 450cc dirt bike. I don't know if I want to spoil it, but like it's probably not what you think.
Right.
It's pretty wild. So
It is pretty cool to see that.
yeah, that I enjoyed. I really enjoyed that. That was it's a guy who puts on events for a living and mountain bike events. Like I don't know how many chances I'll get where a venue will let us do that. So thank you, Rock Creek.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I think that was about it for like big things we wanted to cover on the racing. Obviously, go watch that YouTube show on our channel, Pro Downhill Series, and people can see more of the action from Rock Creek, which will get them primed for Mountain Creek we have coming up right now, and get to see these red plates.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Mountain Creek. I mean, obviously the red plate's something really cool. They say imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
Right? Yeah.
So obviously taking the red plate out of the motocross world and bringing it to the mountain bike world, much like the press conferences as well. Not really inventing something new, but bringing something amazingly cool to the sport of downhill mountain biking. So red plates, Mountain Creek, lots of work going into it. Let's talk a little bit about what we can expect at Mountain Creek.
Yes, right. So the red plates are down the whole line too. So we're running. So the series leader in each category, down all the way down through Cat 2-3, they're getting red plates. So it's really a special moment for everybody when they get those plates when they show up on Thursday of next week. And the the whole premise for us behind it was just like, how do we get more like backing up? It's been years since we've had a points chase on a national level in the U.S. And so, and as the way that kind of fell off, the first thing we lost was the amateur points race, right? We maintained a pro points race through pro GRTs for a while, but before that fell apart. So when we had this opportunity, I was like, we got to go red plates all the way down, right? Like even if you're a 34-year-old Cat 2-3, you should get a red plate. Like that's sick. So that's coming out. Those will be to watch on track. If you're at Mountain Creek, when you see a red plate, they're the series leader within their category. I think it's also interesting that a lot of mountain bikers don't know what a red plate is. Maybe I'm just too much of a moto head, but I think that we'll fix that pretty quick. Everybody will know after this round. So, and just to kind of talk about some of the highlights, I'm not 100% sure if Dakota's making it to this round or not, but Aletha's definitely making it to the round. So we'll have the red plate for sure out in the pro women's category. And then, down the line, we were just discussing this earlier, like worth noting. I think Lucas Dodora may have made the jump to pro because either that or it's a clerical error in our signups. But right now his name is, you can go see who's registered on our website, and he's in the pro class. So I'm not sure how that impacts the 17-18 points chase. We have to figure that out. But if he made the jump midstream, he won't be sporting his 17-18 red plate. Right. So that's an open opportunity right there. Last I checked a few weeks back, Cohen Bundy, the red plate holder in the 15-16 Cat 1, another like just hotly contested group, the third biggest category on the hill, and also posted the third fastest time, not the third fastest time, but the third fastest group of times. He actually came out to Mountain Creek for a training ride. He was going out with my son to do some training and hurt his thumb. So I'm not sure if he's going to be back. So it might be another open plate. So we'll have some openings down the line, but ultimately it'll be people's opportunity to defend their plate, and at the end of this race, we'll have ties, right? Like, cause you'll be tied if you won one and won one. So we'll be going into the next round with, once we get
could potentially be two red plates in the
category. Once we get to Big Bear, it'll get more exciting with the points chase. And then obviously if we can get to 2025 and 26, as we've discussed in the past with more events, then that'll escalate faster. So I think that right now nobody's really thinking about it or watching the points chase, but it's gonna heat up pretty quick. Yeah. Also, Asa's back. That's a big one. So
coming off a win in Scotland,
just a little win.
Yeah, just a little one. That was pretty awesome to see. I mean, he was sidelined with an injury, and obviously didn't lose form. I think he surprised himself, perhaps even a little bit.
Yeah, well, he's that's interesting with Asa, right? It's funny with Asa because he's so nonchalant, right? Like you watch this kid race and he doesn't look like he's trying that hard, which is mind blowing. And then I know him, and I know he wanted to come back right after that injury. Like they had to force him to chill out. So he came back. He says he was on the couch, but I think mentally he was really ready to go. He wasn't messing around. So it'd be good to have him back. And again, he's in the pro class, even though they race, rearrange my pile of stuff here. So again, Ace will be in the pro class this time. And even though in a World Cup environment, he races 17-18, in the US environment, he races pro. So he won't be impacting the 17-18 point chase. It'll be mixing it right up in there with the pro class, which will be really fun to see. It's what everybody wants. So
let's talk a little bit about the course. Mountain Creek, there's a long legacy there of, the US Open, which you played a major part in bringing to the world of mountain biking. And I'm a New Jersey guy, so I loved having it's not my fault. It's just where I was born and raised, right?
It's not your fault, Lars.
It's not your fault either, Clay. But it was really cool putting, this...
New Jersey pride.
That's it, baby. Putting our state on a global map in the world of mountain biking. And, that's continuing. So you've got I'd say, renewed course. Tell us a little bit about the course. I know you followed the...
2017. So, yep. So, the U.S. Open, for those who don't know, started at Mountain Creek in 2003 with Diablo Freeride Park, which was the business that I started there back then, the mountain bike park business. And the U.S. Open, that's a podcast in itself we'll do later this year. But there was a 5-year hiatus in the mid-2000s, and when we brought it back in 2017, and we brought it back right at Mountain Creek. And that track was awesome. At that race, that was when Nico unseated Gwyn and took the win in his first U.S. Open win, and that was a big moment. That was a good track, a good day for U.S. racing. So we're back on that track. It's got a really nice flow down the mountain. So if you know Mountain Creek racing, the past few years, it's really because the way the park's grown with their regular like free ride business. The track's been pushed out to like Looker's left. And this track brings it kind of more back to the middle of the mountain. So we'll be, you know, kind of out the gate the same way. And then it goes through the first section of woods different, drops more straight down the mountain. We're going right down Great Northern ski slope, which will be different than the 2017 US Open. That will be much more, I think it's going to be high speed. I think I am a little worried that we may have reduced the overall time on the track, given some of the changes, but I think it's going to make for better racing.
Do you think it'll still be a 2-minute?
Yeah.
Sub 2-minute course?
I got to tell you, I am not sure. Because there's some things that are being finished right now, some of the open ski slope routing, particularly at the bottom, because we're back to finishing behind the lodge again. We're not over to the right or under the chairlift. We're right behind the lodge again, which is epic. And the way the team at Mountain Creek decides to route that to the finish could be the biggest change in time, but I think they're going to be low twos, very low twos. Yeah, very low twos.
I'm not sure I've seen many races at Mountain Creek over the years sub 2 minutes, but
no,
if any. But
yeah, I don't think we broke the 2-minute marker there. But so that top section's a big change. I was just kind of put out a funny vlog piece on our social this week talking about this. So not using 99. We have a brand new route through the Asylum Rock Garden. Racers know this. That's infamous rock garden. You know, George Ryan, Trail Daddy, George Ryan, and the Trail Crew. Sounds like a band. It's like a 50s doo-wop band, Trail Daddy. Anyway, that team's really done a lot of work to this track over the past few weeks, and they punched in a whole new rock section. So personally, I'm less inclined to route a track down the original Asylum Rock Garden. It's been used so many times. And so the US Open Rock Garden was okay, but it didn't have great flow to it, and it kicked you out to the side of the woods, and we wanted to go out the bottom of the woods. So they punched in a new rock garden right between the two. It's going to have a lot of lines. It's not going to be giant slabs of granite like the rider's left-hand side. I think it's going to be a spot riders are going to ponder. Lines will develop, I'm sure. Who knows? Maybe we'll end up with one line that's obvious at the end. But it's going to be interesting as that develops. And then we're going from there to a spot that most people racing probably don't remember. It's where the original Asylum exit was. So there's like a true dirt double, like dirt to dirt double. And then you land and you have this like section of whoops with that go like half over granite slabs berms, half over granite slabs. And then we shoot back out to the ski slope, and we're hitting the big jump from the US Open. So that was a really important point for me when we started having the conversation. I was like, we're doing this. We got to bring that jump back. It's a great racing jump, real long and low, you know, endless landing and not a lot of vertical to it. So it's just a fun jump to hit at 40 miles an hour. And then out of that, down into the S-berms, and then over the bridge and the whoop section, which was really good in 2017. That whoop section got beat up. We had some weather issues, and the middle got skidded out, which kind of aggravated me, but it was what it was. But until then, it was a great section. Now this year, George took the whole whoop section and canted it left. So you come off that bridge, you hit a berm, you're turning like 30 degrees left. So now you're going more across the hill, which could keep the whoops sharper because people will be going across the hill, not down. So there might be less skidding. That's my hope. And it's like a public service announcement. Don't skid in the whoops. We don't want that. We want those things sharp by finals time. So that piece is really interesting because at the end, it's going to have a 3 or 4 foot tall wall to it, like a dirt wall. You hit that and you're right back in the woods. And then out and around, and we have a whole new exit. We're not using the section we used in 2017 to get out to the bottom ski slope. Instead, we're going through a new route through Frog Pond, which is a trail Mountain Creek locals know and love. A couple of like natural step downs and rocks and roots in there, and then finishing behind a lodge. So it'll be good. I saw the jumps went in recently. They look really good. It's going to be a good racing course. I think that we're going to have tight times, and I think that we're going to have athletes enjoying their laps. You know, potentially, I guess Great Northern could become kind of brutal, but for the most part, I think removing the normal Asylum Rock Garden in 99 is making it less of just a abusive track on your bike and your body. So I think it'll be good. It'll be a lot of fun.
Excellent. So. Definitely going to make for some good racing. And more than likely, we might see some rain. It's New Jersey.
Holy
it's
smokes.
May.
Did you look at the forecast, dude? The long term, and granted, I don't believe it when it's that far out, but like the forecast is not showing, it's not showing a break. Like there's a bunch of rain in it, but we always see that, right? And it's 30% chance every day, but whatever. It'll be fine.
That's racing on the East Coast.
It's racing in the spring on the East Coast too.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't worry about that. Mountain Creek handles the rain really well too.
Really well. Yeah.
Like one of the best. Like it comes right off, and the rocks have quite a bit of grip to them too. I think there's some venues you go to like where when you're racing in the rain, it's like just you can't get moving. I think you can still have pretty good top speeds in the rain at Mountain Creek.
Absolutely. Venue items. What can the riders expect, the teams expect? What's the pit situation? Let's talk a little bit about
that. Another note from the race director, another fun adventure with trying to re-architect the way pit space has been done. So we tried really hard to get all the pits on the mountain side of the road again, like we did. 2017 US Open was the only event that I've ever had there. We did manage to get them all over there. And the problem, just so everybody knows, it's a conflict. It's a business conflict for Mountain Creek between weddings and mountain biking. And you got to respect the amount of money they make from weddings. So it's like, okay, we can't get in that parking lot. It's reserved for weddings. We tried to rearrange the layout so that we could fit people around the lift and certain areas around that great lawn. But we just wound up with so much hill and not enough flat space. We're going back to the standard. We're running the pits in cobblestone. And we'll have plenty of room. Everybody will be able to fit over there. It'll be a nice atmosphere. It's just a little further of a walk to the main part of it. Our race trailer and our main hub is going to be set up right in the middle of that grass area there. The event partners will be around there. It'll all flow. Mountain Creek has the beer garden operating. They got a bunch of specials coming. I know they've staffed up for that. Sierra Nevada is coming on as a partner of the series, and they'll have Sierra Nevada specials or something going on. I'm not sure. So overall, it's going to be, kind of a classic Mountain Creek venue, but just like a new breed of race.
Awesome.
Yeah, it should be good. Speaking of partners, something that we missed earlier, we got the SR Suntour Whole Shot Award coming back for this one, and we were just staking out the spot for that. That's going to be pretty cool. I think that's going to happen right where the riders blast out onto Great Northern. So it'll be probably a touch more, you'll have to be paying more attention to your line and your speed in this one than you did down at Rock Creek. People were just on the gas. It didn't, they're just on it. I think that riders may have to check up. You may not be able to be full bore at it this time. Only the best riders are going to be able to do that. So it'll be good. It'll be a good way to put a little extra money in people's pockets. It's $500 SR Suntour puts up for the fastest male first split time and fastest female first split time. Any category can win. The only requirement is you have to finish your race run. Yeah. So, and in the event of a tie, you split it, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen crazier things, but that's definitely another cool element new to the sport of downhill mountain biking. We talked a little bit about that on the last podcast.
Yep.
It's probably going to work in some people's favor to gun for it, but a lot of people like to get settled and in their run before you really start at like 99% and you just kind of turn the increments up until you're at full speed.
Well, and if you look, when you look at data, typically it's like more often than not the winner of the race is the winner of the first split as well. Like they're laying down a fast first split usually, right? But we didn't see that at Rock Creek. Eris took the whole shot, but what was she, second in the race? So it doesn't always go that way.
Yeah.
So and we're probably gonna have some crazy amateur at some point throughout the season lay down a wild first split time, but they got to make it to the bottom. You can't lay it all on the line and not make it to the bottom.
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. I mean, we talked earlier about how tight even our junior men's categories are and the type of times they're putting down. You get,
Yeah, I'm going to call it. I think that like what we'd see, and I don't know if it'll happen at this race, but I think what we'll see is we'll see a Cat 1 15-16 take a whole shot award soon. Like, and that'll be like a good statement for them, and they maybe not put the whole run together to have the fastest on the day, but nipping on the heels.
Yeah,
so I'll enjoy watching that. Other stuff, Mountain Creek, course marshal signups are open. So we still want, we're still looking for course marshals to get out there, and we have some really good partnership benefits. So we've been working hard, right? So this is something I talk about all the time. We want to create like a good culture and a kind of a almost like a platform for these volunteer course marshals to be rewarded for what they do. And I think that a lot of people might not stop to think about. They love downhill racing. They love buying expensive bikes and paying for hotels and going to places and enjoying the sport, free riding and racing and whatever. But racing can't happen really without these course marshals. It's the same in Moto and a lot of other sports. So we really appreciate everybody who comes out and helps with it. It's a big task. It really helps keep the riders safe. We have Fox Racing stepped up again throughout the whole season, actually. So they're giving 50% off at Fox Racing to course marshal volunteers. And then Thule also jumped on board with a discount code for course marshal volunteers. Mountain Creek is giving a free season, not a free season pass, a free day pass to come back. We hook them up with a Monster Energy Pro Downhill Series shirt, which is a Fox shirt too, and then free lunch. Like, it's a cool thing.
Yeah,
and you're part of the group, and it's a culture we're creating. We have a lot of repeat people coming back. And it's hard work, but it's satisfying. We get a lot of smiling faces out of it. So I enjoy working on that side of it. And it's something that I hope the racers will stop and take a minute and thank a course marshal. It's good karma for your race run.
Absolutely. And it's a cool opportunity to be right up there in the face of the action.
Yeah. I mean, best seat in the house. Like, you're in it. And you can, as you start to do it more, you can kind of know where you want to go. Let us know. And people develop habits and they want to be in the same spots, and we work with everybody. We have some people that want to be where there's going to be more crashes, and some people who are like, I just want a spot that's not going to have so many crashes. That would probably be me.
Yeah, and you definitely don't want to sit in a spot where Richie Rude knocks you over.
when the afterburners go by, the sound wave hits and you flop over. Yeah. It's really funny that you say that. I was on the phone last night with Joe Lawwell from Shimano. We've had a lot of different people in the industry just reach out with just excitement. Like, this is great. Just people calling and checking in and saying, like, we love what you're doing. We're watching and we're enjoying this. And he and I chatted about that moment with Richie, because similar to me, he wants to see Richie, in these situations, like racing downhill. I mean, it's pretty electric. It's
absolutely
cool.
I mean, Richie, I coached him when he was 12.
And was he beating you then? Was he beating you then?
Not yet. It didn't take him long though. But we rode right here in the backyard a lot when he was young. So I'm a super fan. I still remember the day I was in the Platic Hill Mountain parking lot and I got a text from his old man. We did it with his rainbow jerseys. Yeah. He won Junior Worlds in downhill. And I did get to catch up with him at Ride Rock Creek. And, and he's sitting in Enduro World Series #1 spot right now. But it was just cool catching up with him and seeing him, and just, I've been so ridiculously proud of the career he's had. And I was admittedly hoping to see him kind of stir things up a little bit on a downhill scene. I know he was pushing because we talked in the pits.
Where did he have his slip out? Where was that?
He was...
This is back at Rock Creek we're talking about. So at Rock Creek, Richie Rude was in the mix. He claims he needs more time on a downhill bike, but for average mere mortals like us, we watch him and we say he's in the mix. But he was right on pace with getting on the box. And I think for what he shared with me, it's just a little different type of riding. Like, you're all in full sprint in downhill, where the mindset in enduro is kind of always hanging at that 99% mark. You know what I mean? Like, how can you put all those segments together? Well, it's good to know he's still not afraid to go 105%.
No.
Yeah, but I think he slipped out in a berm is what happened, right? Like, he had somewhere in one of those, because it was dry. You know what I mean? Like it was really dry and loose in some of those spots down at Rock Creek. And I think that he had a slip out somewhere. I didn't see it, but I think that's what it was. So we love seeing that, right? Like some unexpected people race. I know we're talking about Joe Lawwell. Well, I also had another interesting reach out, and I'm putting him on the spot here, and I hope he can make it. But Reed Boggs, like, you know, Red Bull Rampage rider Reed Boggs hit me with a, hey, if I got out there, could I race? Text today. So like, you know, if he comes out, it'll be sweet. I love it. I mean, we had Brett Reeder race, you know, years ago at the US Open. I think it's great that we see guys from different disciplines come out and do it.
Yeah, it makes it really fun for me too in the finish line crowd. Like I was trying to stir the pot between Cade Clayson and Josh, just trying to stir the pot. Did the same thing at the U.S. Open last year with Nikolai Rogatkin and David Lee. You know, just kind of trying to put the bet within the bet, you know, and they weren't talking smack to one another until, like, you know, someone instigates it. So it just makes it fun.
Everybody's too nice.
Yeah.
We need some more Jason Anderson, right? Like we need a little rub, right? Like these people got to talk some smack to each other. So we get the free riders and the moto guys here to do it. The racers are too nice. But yeah, so speaking of, you know, the sport, the story, everything, like I think we should just kind of end this thing and tell people, you know, tune into our YouTube channel. That's what we're trying to do. A lot of the resources that we have are all going to this YouTube channel. You know, we've created something that's really special. You know, so the Gravity Cooperative, like GCO, we work with them, and they have a amazing crew that if people knew the skeleton crew that creates the scale of the coverage that we have right now, they'd be mind blown. And so, you know, that's my biggest ask whenever somebody says like, hey, you know, what can we do to support US downhill? I was like, subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe, like, share, tell everybody, even the mayor. And, you know, 19 cameras on course. So
is that what it was?
When you do tune in to the race coverage, it's really cool. You literally feel like you see a race top to bottom. Even 100%. When coverage was good back in the day, there were probably 3 or 4 cameras on the course. And, you know, that was the standard, right? So it was good. We loved it, but 19 cameras on course. I mean, you're a part of the racing action.
I don't know how
amazing.
They do it. I honestly don't know how they do it because I've never seen 19 people, so I'm not sure. But you know, I got Roman out there with this cable cam now, which is absolutely wild. That the footage, like, again, to plug our YouTube channel, but like we dropped his quote, you know, his mixtape, this edit that he gave us to put on our YouTube channel. Wow, it's awesome. Like it's like this mix of like free ride entertainment and racing. You know, it's what we haven't had that in the sport. Like when was the last time we had people like celebrating racing, you know, in video like that? So I want to do some more of that. Maybe we'll get some more video projects going in the future. That'll be good. And a big shout out to Will and Grizz. You know, on the you're live. You do the intros for the show, which is great. And then you're calling the race live in person and doing the racer interviews and all that along with the captain. And then we got Will and Grizz in the box doing the race show. I'm stoked. Like it's great. You know,
it's an incredible team, and hats off to you, Clay, because you know you've had this vision for a long time, and it's coming to life. And
it's sure, yes, it's coming to life and it's good, but the team of people we have, right? Like just give credit. I mean, it's amazing from on site to our video to everybody behind the scenes and everything, you know, to hell, my son and Alvaro and Corey and Raul and Colton helping set the tracks, you know, like people are impressed with the course markings we use. That's not by accident, you know, like we spend a lot of time developing these. We build those poles ourselves. And then we're out there 3 days beforehand marking the track, and you know we got a solid team. And these kids are putting in 10-hour days, 3 days before practice. You know, and I got to make sure I cut them off on Wednesday and let them get some break so they can get out there. But yeah, just super grateful to everybody that's doing this with us. So, thank you.
All right. Well, tune in
or come on out, Mountain Creek, May 23rd through 26th.
Fantastic. See you there.
Party on, Garth.
Thank you.